They called him Caleb Rourke, a quiet cattleman with a past people whispered about but never fully understood. He had built a solitary life on the dry edge of the desert, tending his land, speaking to almost no one, unless there was need. He'd long ago sworn an oath never to take up arms or interfere in the wars brewing between settlers, outlaws, and the Apache bands trying to protect what little they still held. Violence had cost him more than he could bear. Silence felt safer. But on that blistering afternoon, while riding the ravine for stray cattle, he heard something that stopped him, cold, weak sobs carried by the wind. That sound pierced deeper than any bullet ever had. When he crested the ridge, his heart stumbled. There they were, 8 young Apache girls, tied by their ankles, suspended from the branches like trophies. Their hair brushed the dirt. Their throats were too dry for screaming. Bruises climbed to their ribs. Whoever had done this had intended for them to die slowly, unseen. Caleb dismounted, pulse hammering. Every instinct told him to walk away. Saving them meant choosing a side, and choosing a side meant bloodshed. But as he crouched beside the youngest older than 9, her eyes fluttered open. In them he saw no accusation, no judgment, only a question. Will you help us? That single look shattered the wall he'd built around his heart. He cut them down one by one, carrying each girl to the shade. One of the older girls, Nayeli, tried to speak but managed only a rasp. Her gratitude was clear nonetheless. Caleb offered water, tore strips from his own shirt for bandages, and built a fire as night crept in. It wasn't enough some were barely clinging to life. They needed medicine, protection, a community, but bringing them to any settlement risked disaster. The local militia had grown hostile toward Apache families, suspicious, primed for conflict. Yet leaving the girls in the desert was unthinkable. That night, as coyotes cried beyond the hills, Caleb made his decision. He would take them to the one place where people still honored their warden isolated trading post run by Hannah Doyle, a widow who'd stood by Caleb during the darkest chapter of his life. If anyone dared to help him now, it was her. The journey took 2 days. Caleb rode with the weakest girls across his saddle, while the others walked beside Nayeli, leaning on each other. He taught them to wrap wet bandanas around their necks, to sip water slowly, to rest whenever the heat grew cruel. Despite their suffering, the girls showed remarkable grit. They held hands. They whispered songs. They pushed forward. When they reached the trading post, Hannah came rushing out. Shock spread across her face, followed swiftly by determination. Without hesitation, she ushered them inside, locking the doors behind them. She and Caleb worked side by side through the night-mixing remedies, cooling fevers, sewing torn skin back together with trembling fingers. It felt like old times, though neither dared voice what lingered unspoken between them. But trouble travels fast across a desert. By sunrise, a mounted patrol from a nearby settlement arrived, led by Deputy Marshal Briggs, a man more interested in maintaining power than justice. He demanded to know why Apache hostiles were being sheltered. Caleb stepped outside. Silence thickened around the trading post. Briggs warned that harboring the girls was aiding the enemy. He gave Caleb one chance to surrender them. Behind Caleb, inside the wooden walls, he felt the fear radiating from the children. He remembered their bruised faces hanging from the trees. He remembered the promise he made when he cut them down. He shook his head. No! They're under my protection now. Briggs' lips thinned. Guns cocked. Dust swirled in the stillness. Caleb's palms sweated, heart pounding, but he stood tall. He wasn't a warrior not anymore, but he knew a man could die only once. Shame, however, could kill him 1,000 times. Better to face bullets than break faith with the innocent. Before violence could erupt, an unexpected sound rolled across the canyon drum's horse hooves. A large group of Apache riders appeared on the ridge, led by Chief Talon Wind, Nayeli's uncle. Word had reached him that his kin were missing. He rode down slowly, never taking his fierce eyes off Briggs. He saw the rescued girls peeking from the doorway, tears streaming down their cheeks, and in that instant, he understood. The standoff fractured. Briggs swallowed hard. He was smart enough to see the odds had shifted. With a muttered curse, he signaled his men to retreat. None dared fire a shot. As dust from the retreating riders settled, the Apache chief dismounted and approached Caleb. "You saved our daughters," he said quietly. "A debt like that is carried for generations." Caleb bowed his head. Anyone would have done the same. But everyone knew that wasn't true. Over the next week, the girls recovered under the watch of both Hannah and their reunited families. Caleb spent his time repairing the trading post fence, mostly to avoid the overwhelming gratitude directed his way. Yet each evening Neely would bring him a small gift, a pebble, a feather, a flower as thanks. He accepted each one gently. When the Apache finally prepared to leave, the chief clasped Caleb's arm. "You carry a heavy pass," he said. "Yet today you walked toward courage, not away. That is how a man reshapes his own story." Caleb watched the tribe disappear into the horizon, the girls waving from horseback, smiling for the first time since he'd found them. For the first time in years, he felt something shift inside him. Later that evening, Hannah joined him on the porch. "You didn't have to do any of that," she said softly. "Maybe not," Caleb replied, "but sometimes a man gets one chance to decide who he really is." The sun set in brilliant red streaks across the sky. The desert hummed with quiet life, and in that peaceful moment, Caleb realized he wasn't meant for solitude forever. Maybe the world still needed people who chose compassion over fear. Maybe he could still be one of them. Because in the Wild West, in life, heroes weren't always the fastest guns or the fiercest fighters. Sometimes they were simply the ones who stopped, listened to a cry for help, and chose to do the unthinkable. And that choice, more than anything else, could change everything.